You're lying in a hospital bed, your leg in a heavy cast, your ribs throbbing, your vision blurry from pain meds. You wake up expecting to see your boyfriend. Instead, the first person you see is your best friend, gripping her phone with her hands shaking in anger. On the screen is a photo, your boyfriend, arm wrapped tight around his ex at a loud party, smiling like he won the lottery. And the caption under it reads, "Finally free from the needy drama queen and all her demands." In that moment, still broken and barely breathing, you finally understand, the last 4 years of your life were spent loving the wrong person. My name is Marissa Hale, 29 years old, living in Portland, Oregon. If someone asked me what I've done for the past 4 years, the honest answer is embarrassing. I spent most of that time holding up a man who claimed he was finding himself, which was really just a poetic way of describing chronic unemployment, late-night gaming, and living off my stability. We met years ago at a Riverside community garden restoration project. I was assigned to soil preparation, and he, Logan Byrne, proudly called himself the compost king, as if that title carried philosophical weight. He talked about how even decay can transform into something beautiful, and at the time, my soft, romantic heart found that charming instead of ironic. I didn't realize the only thing rotting slowly was my self-respect. For 4 years, Logan helped with rent exactly 8 times. My name was the only one on the lease. Utilities, internet, groceries, car repairs, furniture, all on me. Whenever I asked him to contribute, he'd say, "I'm working on it, you just have to trust my journey." Somehow, I trusted that. Somehow, I thought that was love. Then last week happened, the night everything unraveled. A driver ran a red light and slammed into the side of my car. The crash was loud enough that witnesses thought someone had died. I woke up in the hospital with my leg in a brace, my ribs fractured, and my head pounding as if someone had cracked it open. The doctor told me I was lucky. I didn't feel lucky. Logan visited once. 17 minutes. He said hospitals made him anxious and he needed to process the trauma. His words, not mine, even though I was the one who couldn't move my leg. The person who stayed with me wasn't my boyfriend. It was Elena Moore, my best friend since college. She slept 3 nights on that awful plastic hospital chair, helped me to the bathroom, washed my hair in the tiny sink because I couldn't shower, and brought me real food when the hospital meals made me nauseous. On the 3rd day, while I lay drugged and exhausted, Elena froze while scrolling her phone. She tried to brush it off, but I knew her too well. So I took her phone, a little aggressively, I admit, but pain meds make you bold, and when I looked at the screen, something inside me went silent instead of shattering. There was Logan. At a party. Arm around Nora Blake, his ex, the same ex he claimed traumatized him for years. He was grinning, eyes bright like he'd just escaped prison. And the caption said, "Finally free from the needy drama queen and her constant demands." The needy drama queen was me, the woman lying immobile in a hospital bed, wondering why the man she loved wasn't there. What hurt wasn't just that he was with someone else. It was that he celebrated being free of me while I was barely able to breathe without pain. And to make it worse, the comments from his friends were full of approval. "You deserve better, bro. Good for you. Finally free." Not one person asked about me. Not one mentioned I was in the hospital. Elena looked at me with her eyes glossy, ready to swing at anyone in defense of me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel heartbreak, just clarity. A cold, sharp realization that every messy moment of the past 4 years had been pointing to this exact truth. The excuses. The forgotten bills. The nights he needed space. The car he borrowed more than he asked about my day. The job interviews he canceled because they didn't align with his energy. The way he told people I was too serious while I worked overtime to keep us afloat. Suddenly, everything snapped into alignment. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I didn't ask for an explanation. I simply remembered one crucial detail: the lease was in my name. Only my name. And as that thought settled into my bones, I knew something: my story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The day I was discharged from the hospital, Elena drove me to my apartment. I was moving stiffly, my leg braced, each step a measured, painful process. But the moment I pushed open the front door, the pain in my body faded under the rush of something colder, disappointment layered over 4 years of denial. The apartment looked exactly as I expected, chaotic. Logan had left dishes piled in the sink, blankets thrown over the couch, and an open bag of chips spilled across the coffee table like a toddler had been snacking. The curtains were still drawn even though it was noon, and the air carried that musty, sour smell I'd grown so used to I no longer noticed it. Elena noticed immediately. "You lived like this?" she whispered, almost heartbroken. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My silence was enough. I handed her my spare apartment key. "Start with the bedroom," I said. "I'll take the living room." She didn't question me. She didn't ask why. She simply nodded with a look of grim loyalty that made me love her even more than I already did. We didn't rage. We didn't cry. There was no dramatic music playing as we began. It was quiet. Methodical. Calculated. The kind of calm that comes from a person who has finally reached the end of patience. I sat on the couch, leg propped up, and began sorting through every single item Logan had ever touched in my home. His gaming headset. His half-broken keyboard. The hoodie he insisted was sentimental but actually belonged to Nora years ago. The crystals he said aligned his manifestation energy. His backpack with unpaid parking tickets stuffed inside. The stack of notebooks he claimed were business ideas, all empty except 3 doodles and a grocery list. One by one, everything went into black trash bags. Not because I was angry, but because I was finally awake. For 4 years, I let him take up space he never earned. Today, I was taking it back. Elena entered the room carrying 2 bags full of his clothes. "Marissa," she said, "he left everything." Like, everything. Underwear, socks, hoodies. I don't think he planned on coming back for a while. That didn't surprise me. He thought I'd cry, wait, beg him to choose me over Nora. He thought I'd be the one left powerless. He always underestimated the part of me that learned how to survive long before he arrived. When we finally finished, I had 5 overstuffed bags lined up by the door. I sat down, breathing heavily, my ribs aching from the effort. Elena crouched in front of me. "What's the plan? We can store this, trash this, or..." I unlocked my phone and opened the lease agreement email. Then I opened my landlord's number. "My name is on the lease," I said quietly. "Only mine." Elena's eyebrows rose, slowly, and then her lips parted in understanding. "So if he's not a tenant, he's not allowed here unless I say so." She grinned. "Then we're not trashing anything," I said. "We're leaving it outside the building. And we're changing the locks." Elena stood up, cracking her knuckles. "Say less." We carried the bags downstairs, well, Elena carried, I supervised, and placed them neatly beside the mailbox unit. Not messy. Not passive-aggressive. Just a clean, final line drawn between what belonged to me and what no longer did. I sent Logan a single text, "Your things are downstairs. The lease is under my name. Do not come inside." 5 minutes. Later, he responded, "WTF are you talking about? Why are my things outside?" I didn't reply. 10 minutes after that, "Are you seriously doing this right now? Grow up. I'll pick them up when I feel like it." Again, I didn't respond. An hour later, "Wow. You're really going to act like a victim when you abandoned me emotionally for months?" I shut off my phone and leaned back on the couch, feeling the first breath of real relief in days. But the peace didn't last long. 2 hours later, my doorbell rang. Elena walked to the peephole. "It's not Logan," she whispered. "It's Diane. Diane Byrne, Logan's mother." She was holding a grocery bag in one hand and an envelope in the other, her expression tense and confused when I opened the door. "Marissa, sweetie, are you okay? Logan told me you kicked him out in some fit of rage. I came to check on you." The words hit me like cold water. Logan had told her I had a meltdown. That he was the victim. that I was unstable. I invited her in, not because I wanted her here, but because I needed her to see the truth with her own eyes. I could tell she wasn't expecting it. She wasn't expecting the crutches, or the bruise down my side, or the stiffness in my movements. She wasn't expecting the hospital bracelet peeking out from my sleeve. She sat down, her face pale. He said you were overreacting. That you were upset he went to comfort Nora. I opened my phone, pulled up the photo from his party, and handed it to her. She stared at it for a long time. Then she whispered, "That's not comforting someone. That's celebrating." I finished her sentence. Diane closed her eyes. Not in denial, in defeat. As if she suddenly realized she'd been defending a version of her son that didn't exist. When she opened them again, she looked around my apartment. He told me he was paying half the rent. I didn't laugh. I didn't roll my eyes. "I've paid everything for 4 years," I said, steady. "Every bill, every grocery run, every emergency." Her hand covered her mouth. Not dramatically, but with a sorrow that felt heavy and maternal. "He said you were controlling him financially. That you used money to manipulate him." That was such a wild accusation I almost choked. But I kept my voice calm. "Your son had 8 jobs interviews in 4 years. He flaked on every one. He said he wasn't emotionally aligned with the schedules." Diane sat back, defeated. "I had no idea," she whispered. For a moment, I felt bad for her. She wasn't the villain here. She was just another person Logan had learned to use. She stood up slowly. "I'm going to talk to him. But, Marissa, I want you to know something." Her voice trembled. "You didn't deserve any of this." When she left, Elena sat beside me on the couch. "Are you okay?" I didn't answer right away. I let the quiet settle. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, I said, "For the first time in 4 years. I think I will be." 2 days passed without a word from Logan. No apologies, no explanations, nothing resembling accountability. Just silence, the kind that doesn't come from guilt, but from someone plotting a way to make himself the victim again. I knew his patterns too well. On the 3rd morning, the silence finally cracked. My phone buzzed relentlessly around 6 a.m. Elena was already awake, sitting on the edge of my bed with a half-empty coffee cup, and she raised an eyebrow as the notifications kept streaming in. "Let me guess," she said. "Your personal compost king has risen from the dirt?" I exhaled. "Unfortunately." The messages began with faux remorse, "We need to talk. I'm really hurting. I thought you'd be more mature than this. I visited your place last night. Are you ignoring me?" Then it shifted, as it always did. "I don't deserve to be treated like trash. You know I'm struggling mentally. You're abandoning me when I need support the most." That line, that last one, made Elena snort so loudly I nearly spilled her coffee. But the next message made both of us freeze. "Mom told me what you said. You had no right to twist the truth like that." Twist the truth. The truth that I had the medical scars for. The truth that was literally posted online for the world to see. The truth he'd forgotten even existed when he wrapped his arm around Nora at the party. I put my phone aside. I wasn't responding. Elena leaned forward. "He's spiraling. And spiraling people get reckless." She wasn't wrong. We both knew he would escalate. And he did, faster than expected. Around 10 a.m., my landlord called. "Marissa?" I received a message from he paused, checking something, "Mr. Logan Byrne. He claimed you illegally evicted him and that he's a tenant." I felt heat rise along my neck. He is not. He never was. Check the lease. I did. It's under your name only. That's why I'm calling you instead of responding to him. He sighed. He's been demanding access to the building. I'll block his number. When I hung up, Elena shook her head. He thought he could shove his way back in using legal vocabulary he learned from TikTok. But that wasn't the end. Half an hour later, Diane called again. Her voice was tight, controlled, the voice of a mother trying very hard not to break. Marissa. Logan came home last night. He was furious. He said you ruined his life, that you turned me against him. I didn't know what to believe, but, she hesitated, he tried to take money from my purse while I was in the kitchen. I'm so sorry, I said gently. She exhaled a shaky breath. It's not your fault. None of this is your fault. I don't recognize him anymore. Before I could respond, I heard a sharp knock on my apartment door. Elena tensed immediately. Who is that? She whispered. I peeked through the peephole. Not Logan. Not Diane. Someone worse, somehow. It was Nora. Dressed in an oversized flannel, holding a takeout cup, and looking utterly unprepared for the conversation she had walked into. Elena folded her arms. Oh, this should be good. I opened the door halfway, blocking the entrance with my body. What do you want? Nora blinked, surprised by how firm I was. I came to apologize. To explain. Elena muttered, I bet you did. Nora swallowed hard. Look, Marissa, I didn't know you were in the hospital. Logan told everyone you were traveling. He said you were finding yourself. And when he showed up at the party, he told us you'd gone on some spiritual retreat without telling him. I stared at her. Of all the lies Logan had ever told, this one was so detached from reality that it almost stunned me into silence. He said you were the one avoiding him, she said softly. And after what we had in the past. I let myself believe him. Elena scoffed. You let yourself believe anything that made you feel less guilty. Nora's voice cracked. I really thought he changed. I swear I didn't know. A long beat passed. Then she added quietly, he's not with me anymore, if that helps. It doesn't, I said. She nodded, shame settling on her shoulders. I just wanted you to know the truth. He's been bouncing between people, me, you, his mother, his friends, telling everyone different stories. And he's burning all of us along the way. Then she handed me something. A crumpled piece of paper. He asked me to hold on to this for him last week because he didn't want you to overreact. I think you should see it. I unfolded the paper. My stomach dropped. It was a temporary job offer letter from a logistics company, starting next Monday, $23 per hour, with a note, please confirm attendance. He had a job lined up. A real one. A stable one. A chance he'd never told me about. But the note scribbled on the back was what? Hit hardest, if Marissa asks, tell her I'm still unemployed. She'll flip if she knows I'm working on myself without her input. Elena exploded. He hid a job to preserve his victim narrative? But I didn't feel anger. Not first. Something much sharper cut through me. Clarity. Because suddenly, I understood everything. Logan didn't want partnership. He wanted dependence, excuses, and control. He wanted me to support him until he found something better, whether that was a job, a woman, or a new victim. Nora stepped back, voice trembling. I'm sorry. Really? Then she left quietly. When the door shut, Elena turned to me. So what now? I looked down at the job letter. What now? Now the truth was undeniable. Now the facade had fallen. Now there was nothing left to salvage, only the last steps of walking away. For the first time, I said softly, I'm not scared of what happens next. And I meant it 3 days after Nora handed me the job letter. Logan finally made his grand gesture. And by grand gesture, I mean the most bizarre, unintentionally comedic act a grown man has ever committed. Elena and I were reviewing listings for my new apartment when the doorman called, Ms. Hale, there's something downstairs for you. It's unusual. Unusual was an understatement. Elena came back carrying a giant plastic storage bin, the kind used to store holiday decorations, except this one was full of compost. Actual compost. Damp soil, vegetable scraps, and worms still wriggling near the edges. The smell hit us before she even set it down. Taped to the lid was a handwritten note: "Our love is like compost, even when it decays, it can transform into something new. I'm decomposing my old self to be the man you deserve." Elena bit her sleeve to keep from laughing. I just stared. Logan's idea of winning me back was a tub of rotting kitchen waste. But the worst part wasn't the compost. It was what Elena found beneath it. She screamed, "Oh my God, Marissa, look at this." Buried under the damp soil was a small velvet ring box, stained and smelling like spoiled cabbage. Inside the box was a cheap, tarnished ring with a date engraved inside, April 22nd, 14. My stomach dropped. Not my birthday. Not our anniversary. Not anything related to me. But it was something. I remembered, with horrible clarity, a detail from years ago. It was Nora's birthday. Logan had literally taken a ring meant for her, tossed it into compost, and used it as his redemption arc. Elena lost it. She recorded herself marching the entire compost bin to the building's garbage area, dumping it in one satisfying motion, and texting Logan the video with the caption, "Appropriate." Minutes later, Logan unleashed a flood of messages. The ring was symbolic. I didn't have money for a real one yet. The date was random. The compost was a metaphor. Great. He sent me a metaphor that smelled like spoiled potatoes. I didn't respond. Later that afternoon, I received something unexpected, an email from Diane. Not angry. Not defensive. A full, trembling-voiced apology. She had gone through her bank statements and realized that Logan had taken over $40,000 from her over 2 years. Money she thought was for medical bills, car repairs, groceries, all lies he told to keep her guilt-bound and financially supporting him. "I don't know who my son is anymore," she said over the phone, voice cracking. "But I know one thing: you don't deserve to be in the path of the destruction he's creating." For the first time since I'd known her, Diane sounded done. Not sad. Not disappointed. Done. And that was the first domino. Because the next morning, I received a text from none other than Remy, Logan's friend who'd been letting him crash on his couch. "Just letting you know, Logan's out. He stole $200 from my wallet. Changed the locks." Logan's lifelines were disappearing. When the consequences felt close, Logan shifted again, from remorse to rage. He began sending messages like, "If you don't call me back, I might do something stupid." I didn't play that game. I called the police for a wellness check. Officers later told me he was agitated but fine. That night, he escalated further, spectacularly. He launched a GoFundMe titled, "Homeless After Girlfriend's Revenge." He posted pictures of himself curled up on an old couch, claiming I threw out all his belongings, locked him out of his home, and destroyed his chance at a future career. What he didn't expect was the internet doing what it does best, remembering everything. Within hours, people commented, "Isn't this the guy who cheated on his hospitalized girlfriend? Bro posted photos hugging his ex last week. Didn't he brag about being free from the drama queen?" The GoFundMe was reported and deleted in 6 hours, thanks to Elena, Mason, me, half our friend group, and Diane. That night, Diane called again, exhausted but resolute. "I'm sending you something," she said. "It's not to fix anything, it's to help you start over." She transferred me $2,000. A gesture that wasn't about guilt. It was about acknowledgement, about finally seeing the truth of the situation. I used that money to buy a small wooden bistro set for the balcony of my new apartment. And that's where I sat a week later, looking out at a quiet Portland street lined with maple trees, while the last traces of Logan disappeared from my life. He stopped messaging. Stopped calling. Stopped pleading, threatening, and blaming. He simply vanished, not out of grace, but because he had burned every bridge he'd ever stood on. My new apartment was small, bright, and peaceful. No sour smells. No shouting at video games at 2 a.m. No moldy dishes waiting for me after work. No weight on my chest the moment I walked through the door. Just me. Just quiet. Just safety. For the first time in years, I could breathe without feeling someone else's chaos filling my lungs. I wasn't happy Logan fell apart. I wasn't seeking revenge. I didn't celebrate his failures. But I was finally free. And that was enough.